Hello, my name is James, and I haven't been feeling super duper spectacular recently, and I've been struggling to think of ways to express myself, so I figured I might as well, let me adjust my microphone, might as well just play some Tetris and just talk to everybody, and maybe that'd be a good time. I don't know. But here we are. Let's get started. That aspect ratio is... there we go. And... now, this is a relatively new YouTube channel, so I know what some of you are thinking. James, there are so many people out there, just, on the internet, who are so much more... oh, I've already kind of set myself up for failure, haven't I? Oh well. But James, there's so many other people who are so much smarter, and just, more photogenic, and wiser, more knowledgeable, more attractive, just generally better for any form of video or data presentation than you are. So why should we listen to you? And, I ain't got an answer to that question, and oh, I really did screw myself, didn't I? Ah, humbug. Anyways, it's been a while since I've played Tetris. I'll clear that up eventually. Or I won't. But yeah, it's just I've been wanting to express myself through, video and things for a long time. I really have. And it's just always been a struggle for me. And I'm just gonna talk about that for a bit. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm recording this at 11 o'clock at night because I don't want my parents or sister to see me and, I don't know, make fun of me or something, I guess? I don't know. It's stupid, but still something that I'm apprehensive about. I don't know how normal that is. Yeah. As you might have guessed from the Tetris one, my world record run is not going as well as I would have hoped. I will never be able to compete with Jonas at the Retro Tetris World Championships at this rate. Oh man, I set this up bad. I cannot clear this. Anyways, back to my random neuroses. It's just I've wanted to express myself about things I'm passionate about for always. Always. And that's something I've always struggled with. I've tried writing, I've tried making music, I've tried programming little video games, but I'm always frustrated with my own abilities and just struggling to express how I feel about things, or just making something that feels like it's worthy of an audience. Because that's part of why I've always been kind of a jokester. I've always tried to make people laugh, and that's because everything I do, I want to make people happy. I want to please an audience. And, when I'm just messing around and talking with people, I feel much better about that than when I actually, sit down and premeditated try and make something, like a game, a story, a song, something like that. And that's frustrating, because I always talk in circles. This is another reason why I hate videos, especially when I try to be off the cuff, because I always talk in circles. And that's frustrating. It's It's weird that I don't remember Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies ever being in the NES Tetris. Is that just me? I could have sworn it was something else instead. Oh well. Something I would like to do in the future, but not the only thing I'd like to do, is I'm a math major, I'm a math student. One day I'd like to be a math professor, because I really feel passionate about good math education. And something I'd like to do over time is just to like make videos explaining math concepts to people, and just sort of like putting a heavy emphasis on the logic-based aspects of mathematics. Because lots of people, they go through high school and they think addition and subtraction and multiplying and dividing and calculus and stuff are the only things to mathematics, that the only things are just like rote memorization. And that's not true at all, not even close. If it was, I wouldn't be doing it because it'd be horrifically boring. And that's something I want to do. I want to talk to people about, like, just math concepts that help them see it in a different way and see where it might be more interesting to them. Like, talk about, like, actual logic and the creativity that goes into math proofs, or things like that. Or maybe math that's, like, visually more stimulating than just a bunch of equations. Like, talking about graph theory. Which, I mean, all in all isn't like super visual when it comes to proofs, but visualizing things can be helpful. Okay, I've actually cleared up the field pretty well, except for this part right here. One goal I have is to eventually have a full mathematics curriculum available for free. I jinxed myself, didn't I? Online. Because I believe education should be open to everyone, especially mathematics education. And I'm often frustrated with free resources that are available online as it stands. Especially when it comes to more advanced levels of mathematics. Here we go. Look at us clear. We're getting places. At long last. Okay, and there we go. Look at us cooking. But yeah. There's tons of things like that I'd like to talk about, like set theory, which is kind of like the logic of how objects can be fit into boxes. And a lot of set theory is intuitive to people, at least at first, but also has some but also serves as just like a good introduction to logic, like what's in this, what's in that. And I think that's something that could really help people become more interested in math. And that's something else I've kind of wanted to do. I've started playing a game recently. It's a remake of an old 90s edutainment title called The Logical Journey of the Zoombinis. And what's fascinating about The Logical Journey of the Zoombinis is that it covers those aspects of mathematics. The logic, a little bit of set theory. Mainly it's like a game that is about logic and applying logic to seeing patterns and solving problems. But most of the time, that's what mathematics is. Identifying patterns and... oh god, I'm screwed. There we go. Identifying patterns and using logic to solve problems. Oops. Uh-oh. Ah, god. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this to... there we go. I didn't do too bad, especially considering some of the tight spots I got into. But yeah, I've been playing a game called The Logical Journey of the Zoombinis. And it's been fun. And I've been enjoying it. And that's something I'd like to do, just like play through the logical journey of the Zoombinis and talk about mathematical concepts as they apply to like the puzzles I come across. And just sort of approach it that way. I think that'd be interesting, and dear lord, the fan on my laptop is going. It is not equipped to record me playing an NES game and occasionally talking. That's a shame. You know what? Okay, you know what? Back to Sugar Plum Fairies. That's something I might want to do. That's another problem I have with, like, videos. I always have to force myself to do it. Okay, I can't remember for, like, the people that are really good. Do they do the well on the right or the left? I'm gonna build on the right. There we go. Hey. I'm also in a strange place because while I do want to be on YouTube and I do want to have an audience, I don't want it to be like a job. Because that sounds, frankly, it sounds god-awful, and that's coming from somebody who wants to be in academia. It's like, I want to do things that I enjoy. Oh, I've set myself up for... Oh, I haven't. Haha! Okay, yes, I have set myself up for failure. Ah, nuts. We'll call that an error in judgment. We'll call this several errors in judgment. Because that's the only way I can really describe what's happening anymore. I was talking about something, but I forgot it entirely. Which is kind of on brand for the rest of my life. It's been a long time since we had a long piece. Sure, right there. This random thing I think is interesting. When you look at different... I'm not even that into Tetris. I just remember looking this up one day. But, like, every Tetris game has different rules about, like, what pieces come up. And, you know, some operate under a rule, like, sort of like it's a grab bag, and you reshuffle every now and then. Like, a bag has 7 pieces. You pick out one at random, and then you don't replace until all the pieces have been removed at least once. And that gives you a nice, even distribution of all the pieces. But NES Tetris doesn't have that. It has a totally random distribution. So you can go through droughts of one or another particular piece. And I think that's kind of interesting. But I would, because I'm a mathematician and weird statistics are like catnip to me. Or at least I'm trying to be a mathematician. Calling me a mathematician as I stand right now is a bit of a stretch. Blimey. Yes. Here we go. You can see a little spot there towards the top where you can tell I was beginning to panic. Well, if I go through another drought that long, I will lose, certainly. Will be built immaculately well, I think. Ah, nuts. Yep, that's on me. Ah, look what was next. Well, I keep forgetting what I'm talking about. It's late. I don't know. If I don't force myself to do things like this, I will never do them. And sometimes that means doing them late at night, even though you're feeling kind of crappy, because you know your parents are asleep and you're not going to disturb anybody, and if you want, no one needs to notice. Oops, almost missed a perfect spot right there. How silly of me. Haha. Here we go. This is a nightmare. Oh no. Oh, that was a bad idea. That was a worse idea. This is a god-awful idea. Oh, thanks. Thanks for showing up. There we go. We can start to clear things out just a wee bit at a time, and oh, nuts. Well, oh, I should not have greenlit. That was a bad idea. Just work your way down, I guess. This is going to be a horrifically boring thing to watch. How am I this bad at Tetris? I was good at Tetris, at least once. I'm pretty confident of that. Another interesting thing about the NES, Tetris is that it doesn't really have a hold. So, you have to use every piece as it comes down to you. Oh man, can I do it? Okay. Haha, here we go. Yes, now we're getting places. I know this is supposed to be some sort of grand epic about my misgivings about art and myself. But really, I'm just playing Tetris at this point, I guess. Nice. That's not a good place to put this. Oh. Turns out I dramatically misjudged where that was going. Huh. Well. Let that be a lesson to you about assuming, I guess. Oops. Oops. Here we go. Again, it was something else, right? It wasn't Sugar Plum Fairies, right? Isn't there another Tetris song? There has to be. I refuse to believe there isn't. As a matter of general principle. Oh, that reminds me of something fun and Soviet. And a friend of mine recently watched the movie Stalker. I should see it. I'm just gonna go on a bit of a rant about something I find interesting, but so the movie Stalker was a movie by Andrei Tarkovsky, a noted, very, very well received Soviet film director. And the movie Stalker was his adaptation of a particular popular science fiction novel in the USSR called Roadside Picnic. And the general conceit of Roadside Picnic is, at some point, aliens came upon the Earth. And just as suddenly as they arrived, they left. And left behind are these zones. And right off the bat, you should not enter a zone. I'm gonna slap that down in there. You should not enter a zone. The zones are incredibly dangerous. They have random physics anomalies that can just kill someone in a heartbeat. Like, one moment you're fine, the next step you're in an area where the gravity is 200-300 times normal. Dangerous places. But the zones also have these things called artifacts, or I think they were called artifacts in the original book. And the artifacts also are physics defying, but in good ways. Like, there are things that help people heal. There are things that can save lives or help us understand mysteries of physics in the universe. And so there's people called... I'm not sure if they were called stalkers in the original book. Oh wait, yes they were. The Stugartsky brothers, who were the writers, they did call them stalkers because they really liked the English word. But they go into the zone, even though it's dangerous, so that way they can retrieve the things and sell it, and hopefully make some money. And Tarkovsky made an adaptation that based on a stalker and a client going into a zone in order to hunt down an artifact that's said to grant the deepest wishes of someone's heart. And I've heard it's good. Now, me personally, my greatest experience with the Stalker series is a game called Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl. And what that's about is it kind of pseudo-adapts both the movie and the book, in a way. The basic conceit of the game, at least the first game, is that you're an amnesiac who wakes up in the zone. You've come back alive from a thing called a death director where nobody comes back from. And the only thing you know is that you have a tattoo on your arm and that you have something listed in your PDA task to kill somebody named Strelok. And the whole game is about hunting down Strelok and making your way through the zone and trying to get to the bottom of everything that's happening in the zone, because bad stuff's happening all the time. And it's all in the shadow of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant following a second disaster that it underwent. And I'm not going to spoil more story details, but I played through most of the game. I quit at the end because it got very hard very quickly and frankly just kind of stopped being fun. But it was an interesting experience and I really enjoyed it. And I don't know where I was going with this anecdote. Probably nowhere. But it was something I enjoyed. It had a good atmosphere. It gave you things to, like, think about. Maybe not, like, philosophical things. But it's one of those things where it had, like, mysteries or questions to keep you engaged. Like, what is the nature of the zone? How did all these artifacts get here? And in all, it was a good time. A spooky time, because it is a horror game. But a good time nonetheless. And one creative endeavor that I thought would be interesting, but I never got around to, was like James's mind, or you could call it Strelok's mind. And one of my favorite YouTubers is a guy named Ross Scott. And he does lots of stuff with video games. And his probably most notable series is a thing called Freeman's Mind, where he plays through Half-Life and now Half-Life 2 and narrates the inner monologue of the protagonist, Gordon Freeman. And you know, it's funny. It's humorous, and I really enjoy it. And I thought it'd be interesting, maybe, to, like, record me playing a bit of Stalker and either acting out the inner monologue of the Strelok, or alternatively pretending it's just me in a similar situation. I just wake up with no memory of how I got there, in not even 100% knowing where I am, but in some Eastern European nation, and just struggling to find my way home while horrific battles wage all around me to find horrible, world-shattering artifacts surrounding the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. I don't know why, it's kind of a stupid idea. But it was something that seemed interesting to me, at least at one point. Sugar Plum Fairies is really starting to piss me off now. It's like my own memory is mocking me. I'm doing uncharacteristically well right now. That means I probably will stop doing so well in the future very soon. Excuse me. Yep. That's another, like... Ralph Scott does something else. He does a thing called Game Dungeon. And basically they're reviews of games that he finds subjectively interesting. And they're totally subjective reviews. He will own that, just like, it's basically only about stuff he likes, no matter how out there it may be. Or things that he thinks has potential based on his interests. And that's something else that inspired me to really want to express myself through video, because it is fascinating. That's something I always find interesting, like people who are like really authentic and like totally subjective in like the way they express themselves. And there's lots of other people like that. Like I'm a big fan of Jarvis Johnson. He does lots of stuff that's very less so now, but like he's done lots of stuff where it's very clearly like a personal affair, where it's very clearly him expressing things that are near and dear to his heart, even if they're not to other people. And that's part of my inspiration. Some Ordinary Gamers, Mudahar, he clearly does it just to express how he feels. And that's all stuff that I think is really interesting. Those are always my favorite channels. Channels that just like are a totally subjective someone's experience with something, be it a game or a movie or life in general. And that's something like that is like inspiring to me, but it's also challenging, because it means you have to be very authentic and very vulnerable. At least sometimes anyways. Oops, not over there. Here we go. Haha. I've moved from score attack mode to just keeping the blocks low. That's not the block I need. Oh. Haha. Nice. And that's something that comes as a challenge to me, because I'm also a perfectionist. And it's tempting to just sand out all the areas where I have nothing to say, or where I feel like what I have to say isn't worth saying, all the ums and the ahs that make, all the little mistakes that make the things I make me, that make them distinctive to my experience. But, you know, if you're really being authentic, you can't do that, and that's hard, because I do try and clean everything up. I do want to present the best self that I can. And it's hard. That's something I've always struggled with, acknowledging that I'm not perfect at everything. Speed is starting to pick up a little bit. On the bright side, things aren't turning out too bad. I don't foresee this being a crap. Here we go. Okay, that's a bit of a misstep. But, you know, we're working our way through it. I think that's probably the hardest thing, like the fact that I want to do those things where it's like about video games or movies or books or just life. Those are the things that are hardest, because math, I know about math, and I do want to share math with people, I really do. Oh god, this is getting a little bit speedy. There we go. Haha. Oops. That was a mistake. Where was it? Oh, yeah. And, like, I can express myself that way. But expressing those other things is harder because there is, like, that perfectionist tendency. And there's also the fact that there isn't a right answer. Other people disagree with the way I interpret things, and that's 100% fair. But because I just, like... Oops. That was close. Nuts. I took my eyes off the screen for a moment. Okay. Oh, what's gotten into me? Ah, crap. Okay, this is recoverable. No, it isn't. Hey! Ah, you're kidding. That's a shame. I'm a rocket. Hooray. But yeah, that's what I think I'm trying to say, is there's an inherent difficulty for me. If I want to talk about math, I know what I'm talking about. And I can script it out in advance, and I can come up with examples, and I can draw out things on boards. But it comes to just expressing how I feel about my life, or parts of my life, through anything really, but especially through art, or whatever vaguely arty things you can consider the things I make, is I feel a need for perfection I don't feel elsewhere, and that often scares me off from doing the things I want to do. Just there we go. Merry Christmas. Probably should have played Bionic Commando. Bionic Commando's fun. If you've never seen Bionic Commando, I recommend you look it up. It was I remember I was just like reading about random retro video games, and it had like the most interesting pitch out of all of them. It's a platformer where you can't jump. Instead of like any of the buttons jumping, you fire out a grapple arm, which you have to use to swing around and climb things. And it's a fun game. It is a great, great game. I love it dearly. I actually own, like, one of the remakes. I should probably play it sometime. Well, the 2D remake, anyways. I heard the 3D remake's kind of terrible. That's neither here nor there, though. There's also the fact that I really don't see myself as... That's another block to creative expression for me. I don't really see myself as a very interesting person. I try to rotate the square. I am getting tired. I was saying something, but I forgot it again. I need to stop doing that, probably. It's going to become horrifically annoying to any audience I collect. But yeah, I don't see myself as particularly interesting. So that whenever I try to make something, there's always a nagging sense of self-doubt about whether what I'm saying or doing has any value. Which is not the best position to be trying to make things from. I suppose most of you probably already could have figured that out on your own. But, oh well. Oh, this is horrible. This is a bad setup. Oh. Maybe not as bad as I thought. Just gotta work your way to the bottom, one step at a time. That could have been worse. There we go. I probably should be saying something right now, but I don't think I will. I don't have much to say at the moment. Except I'll probably go to bed soon. There we go. Sometimes the colors are a little bit hard for me to see. I don't know why. But like the dark blue on the black, sometimes I have trouble with. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea. If I ever do follow this up with any... If I post this in the first place, and then proceed to follow it up with anything else, playing Bionic Commando would not be a bad idea. Actually, it kind of would be a bad idea, because it is... I do love it, and I've completed it, but it is a very hard game, and it's been a while, so I probably would not do too well. But it's a fun idea and concept. I suppose me playing Tetris is also a fun idea and concept, but in execution, it's just kind of sad. Eh. Oh, that was a mistake. Well, it wasn't a horrible mistake by any means, but still not one I enjoy making. And we're back to Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies yet again. I don't understand. Isn't there another song? There has to be. There is an iconic Tetris song. Made for the Game Boy version, that's probably it. I'm not doing too bad. I wish I had more to say to you than I do. I guess thank you if you're still watching this far, though. I can't really fathom as to why you would. But thank you anyways for your horribly misplaced judgment. Look at that. I might as well cap this off because I'm going to be ending soon. I might as well cap this off with some fun facts about the retro Tetris Championship that got me into playing NES Tetris, at least recreational. I'm not going to play it to championship levels. But every year there's a convention in Portland, I think, and they have a big retro Tetris Championship on this particular game, Tetris for the NES. And something interesting they do is they start on the hidden level 18? I think it's 18. But the thing is, among other things, one interesting thing about starting at level 18 is that the blocks are going so fast that if you were to just tap on the arrows normally, you would not be able to move the blocks fast enough to properly set up a board in time. So they've actually had to develop special ways of hitting the arrows, such as always being moving blocks, so that certain programming buffers never have to clear, or other techniques like that. So that way they always have a block available. They always can move blocks. And there's actually an upper limit to even that. Eventually no technique at all will be able to make you catch up with how fast the blocks are falling, and that's an interesting part of the retro Tetris meta. Because time if you can't score the points you need before it gets if you can't score the points before you can't move the blocks anymore, you're screwed. You're done. And that's just an interesting concept to think about. It's not the game of Tetris for them isn't time limited, but in a way it very much is. And because of that, there's heavy emphasis on only getting Tetrises, only clearing those 4 lines at once, in order to maximize score before that happens. And there's also the added complexity of I talked about this earlier, and it's horribly dry then and horribly dry now. But because of the way random pieces are generated, you have the potential for droughts of pieces, which can make it more challenging. You have the possibility for slip-ups. There's the fact that you have to constantly be manipulating the control pad in a very precise way, a very rapid way. in order to even play the game at all, much less play it well. I only got to a lower level that time, huh? Anyways. But that's something I always find interesting. Just the mechanics of the game and how it's played at that level I think is fascinating. I highly recommend looking up a video for it. And something else I've seen that's interesting is like a game, I think it was by a channel called Retro Games Explained, but it's about the unique ghost AIs for the original Pac-Man. It sort of explains why there's a dead spot in the Pac-Man maze, where you can, if you turn into it at the right angle at the right time, ghosts won't be able to catch you, and I've done it many times now, and it is always a pleasure for me, if no one else in the arcade. Thanks for putting up with my random, insane gibberish of a madman. I might see you again in the future. I don't know. Bye-bye.